Good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to Real Talk with Eugene, brought to you by the New Thought Media Network. And I want to give a shout out to the New Thought Media Network for producing this. It's a wonderful thing. You will find in the comments section a link where you can donate to New Thought Radio Network, Media Network. Media Network, where you continue to have all of this great content coming to you. You can also sign up for their newsletters. Again, welcome to Real Talk with Eugene. And once again, I have my dear brother, the Reverend Masando Hiraoka. Welcome, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see your face.
Good to see you too. Here we are, September? This has been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year, man. I was speaking with a friend of mine via social media, and she's in Oregon, fires going on up in there. And she was talking about this is like an apocalyptic time with all this stuff going on.
Yeah, right before it snowed in the summer, it was raining ash here in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah, from the fires nearby. And now we're getting smoke from fires in California. And apparently I heard yesterday that New York State is now getting smoke from fires in California.
Wow.
Because the smoke has traveled so far up in the atmosphere into the jet stream that it's able to be carried that far now. I don't know if it's ash. It's not going to be raining ash out there, but yeah, if there's ever been an apocalyptic time,
this would be it.
This is it, without a doubt.
Yeah. Here in Pennsylvania, we don't smell any smoke. There isn't any ash. Oh, we do today. Thank you, Steve Burton. We do today. And it has been producing some beautiful sunsets. Jeez.
Yeah, beautiful. You're like, this is pretty and weird.
And it's caused by some crazy stuff that's going on the other side of the nation.
Yeah, nuts.
Yeah, and we're live. But you know what? Come on, Steve. He's like, come on, Steve. This is my dear friend Steve Burton. So we're here live. Real Talk with you.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, man. So with all of this going on, I wanted to talk about, as you know, because you've been tuning in each week, and I appreciate you so much, man. Not just for that, but we've been brothers for a long time. And as you know, we've been talking about having a new thought on new thought. And what I had mentioned to you earlier this morning when we got on before going on live, that I want to have a discussion, man, like you and I have, we just talk about new thought and social justice. Where are we? Because, and it's an interesting thing because when I talk about new thought and social justice, it's not like I'm separating, from whatever other modality people might be practicing or living. But this is where we are. This is, where I am with this new thought and ancient wisdom or ancient wisdom. And I want to talk about where we are collectively, where social justice is concerned, and that new thought on social justice. And I wanted to talk about that because I know that that's very important for you.
Yeah, I mean, interesting we're talking about the apocalypse. Because when you look at the Greek root of the word apocalypse, really what it means is revelation. Right? So apocalypse, the book of Revelation, this idea that it is a time in which many things are being revealed.
Yes.
And to me, what makes this time so interesting, challenging, and amazing is the fact that I'm going to steal. I saw Dr. Shakti Butler came and did some Q&A and a talk with our ministers. We had a ministers gathering for the past few days online, of course. And she talked about how what is all that, any justice work is one, like recognizing that we need to look at the suffering in the world. We need to look at the injustice. We need to be so deeply present to the ways in which suffering is occurring in our world, in our communities, right? And then once we do that, like what is then sort of required of us, like what we are compelled and impelled to do is to collectivize our consciousness, right? So it's interesting you use that word collective or collectively, because honestly, like all social justice work is collectivizing our consciousness. And what she says is like the reason why we need to do that is we need to collectivize our consciousness in order to become whole, right? Because anytime we're not doing that, anytime we're turning a blind eye, anytime we are utilizing a spiritual bypass to not look at the suffering of the world, anytime we are allowing our privilege to not engage in the suffering of others, we are taking part in a consciousness of separation. This idea that like my life and your life are not interconnected. This idea that all I got to do is look out for myself and maybe my friends and family. And that's really my job in life. It's survival of the fittest. It's this idea that you and I are not connected. There is nothing that connects us. And so social justice is simply an outpicturing of this idea that we are all being asked to collectivize our consciousness in order to become whole again. Because I think, when you look at the suffering of the world, so much of it exists because of our idea that we are separate, or that our idea that we don't suffer when other people suffer. There's not a part of us that is suffering when we are witnessing the suffering of someone else. That our consciousness and our lives are separate from each other. That we can go through this life only looking out for ourselves and our friends and family. Maybe that to me is, I think, what's being revealed. Like we talk about apocalypse times. Look at all that's happening in this apocalypse. Like if apocalypse is a time of revelation, like what is being revealed right now? Like what is being revealed to us? To me, what is being revealed is how deeply interconnected we are. A pandemic of this kind has asked us to think about the whole, to wear a mask, not just for ourselves, but for every other person that we may come in contact with if we happen to be an asymptomatic carrier of this disease.
Right.
Apocalypse times in which we are seeing natural disasters and these fires rage are a product of the fact that global climate change is happening at a rapid rate, even faster than I thought it ever could, right? And if there's anything that global climate change is teaching us, it's the fact that we all have a role to play in saving this planet and ensuring that it can go on, or ensuring that it can sustain life, right?
Right.
Not necessarily, you have to be a tree hugger to care about the environment right now, right? You just have to look around and say, hey, do we want life for our grandkids? All right. Well, like this is what we have to come to terms with, right? The fact that we're experiencing the effects in our lungs from the fires that are happening thousands of miles away, right? Like, to me, and not to mention how we have understood, and now we're living in a globalized economy in which every economy is interconnected with another, and how even the lines of nations can't really be defined when it comes to the resources and the way that money is held and transferred in throughout the world. Like, so what else is being revealed, right? I think to me, what is being revealed is how deeply interconnected we are.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up, that thousands of miles, and this is a evidence of how deeply connected we are. Thousands of miles away, people are being affected by the fires, or thousands of miles away, people are being affected by global protests that are going on in other places around the world. We are deeply connected. So let me ask you this question because of this revelation. And this stuff has been brewing for a long time, right? It's not like it's suddenly happened. I liken it to this volcano that's been brewing underneath here, and now it's going spewing out over everyone and everything and touching everything across the board. Now that this is being revealed, now that all of this is being shown to us, in your opinion, from your purview, what do you think we as a people should be doing?
Well, I think there's two natural responses. One is fear and despair, and the other is love, and courage, and connection. Right? I think what we could be what we could be doing is going off in either direction, right? And you see the ways in which that is manifesting out in the world, right? You see ways in which polarity seems to be increasing and not decreasing. You see ways in which xenophobia is increasing and not decreasing. You see ways in which, like these white supremacist, radical, right-wing groups are becoming mainstream, right? Which is terrifying to me. These armed militias are rising up through the fear that is being revealed, right? Throughout our nation. And that is a response. It can be a response to everything that is being revealed, to resist that, to do everything we can to not want things to change, for things to want to go back to the way they were, for things to get comfortable in that sense again. And the other choice, right, is for me is the opposite of that is, courage, love, and connection, right? Really accepting everything that's being revealed to us and embracing it in a way where we see the suffering in the world and we're compelled to do something about it and recognize that that suffering is a part of our own, and that we can't ultimately be liberated until everyone is liberated. And so the thing that we like, the obvious choice then is, how do I take part in alleviating the suffering by working against the injustices that we see?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know. For me, I think it's becoming more simplified in my mind as we go along. And maybe it's this time where things are being revealed to where it's becoming simpler to me. It's like, we don't have to convolute it.
Right.
Just like, are you a breathing human being that has empathy? Great. Like, do something with that. Like, allow that gift that was given to you to have the ability to have empathy, and work around those feelings so that anything that disturbs you then becomes your greatest inspiration for change. Anything that makes you want to scream or yell out or cry can then become the greatest hope for creating something that can be different, not just for this generation, but for generations to come.
Right.
And honestly, like, that's, to me, that's all justice work is. Justice work is recognizing injustice, to the point where we are moved enough to do something about it. And so I think ultimately it's not like we're not like trying to put this moral code upon the earth. We're just to me, I think we're all being invited to become more deeply human again, and to tap into the ways in which we can allow that connection to actually make us want to do something and not just think about ourselves all the time.
Right.
What, that's the sort of the ego force of it all, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest. Our goal in life is to take care of ourselves, and as long as we're doing that, we're making money and we're taking care of ourselves and we're consuming and we're taking part in the system that tells us that more consumption is better. Then we're being a good human, right? We're doing everything, like we're successful in that way. And I think what's being revealed is like, yeah, like that. It's an empty road, and if we continue down that one, I think there's just more destruction, right? Like more of this kind of thing. So that to me is the invitation, right? Is like, I don't know. Justice work is so simple now. Just like be a full human. Like, go and get your wholeness back. Okay? Go and get your wholeness back. Collectivize your consciousness so that you may become whole again.
Yeah.
And that to me is all that's going on. And if you're compelled to do that in your own community, great. If you're compelled to do that at the national level with the federal government, great. If you're compelled to do that within your workplace, great. If you're compelled to do that within your neighborhood, great. Like, I think we're all going to have different motivations and different callings. But to me, I don't think any of us are falling outside of that anymore. Even the most privileged among us are not able to not see the suffering that's happening in our world. And that to me is
right. And it's an interesting thing to me, man. First of all, thank you for all of that. And none of this is new, right? And we have, as human beings around the globe, but I'm going to stay specifically here in the USA, over centuries and centuries of stuff have been called to show up. Prince has this song, and there's a line in that song that said, "Get up, come on, let's do something." But he's talking out about what's been going on. I was how it is with me, man. Songs just pop in, and this old school song came up, and second verse is countries trying to see who's got the power to kill the most. When they run out of power, the world's going to be a ghost. They know we're not satisfied, so we begin to holler. They give us a promise and throw in a few more dollars. But there's no price for happiness. There's no price for love. Up goes the price of living, and you're right back where you was. So whatever you got, just be glad you got it. But now it's time to get it on up and get some more of it. Give more power to the people. 1972. Right? So here we are, still in this vibration of being called up and called out to stand up and speak out. About what's going on, because you're right, man. We're at a point in our lives here in the United States of America where even the privileged cannot ignore what's going on.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, because and it's a gift to those that are privileged that are able to see this now.
Yeah,
that's the messed up thing. That's the thing about privilege, right? Like it blinds you from these things that make us so deeply human, right? It blinds us from each other. It blinds us from being able to see each other and to see ourselves. Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, evil, hear no evil, right? Like to me, it's a gift, and that's it's hard too. Like it can be heavy, I think, especially if it's new, like especially if seeing injustice is new to you, right? Especially if you've gone your whole life thinking like, oh, everything's equal. Like the civil rights movement has happened, right?
Right.
Everything is okay now. And then, like, maybe within this past year, that whole worldview has totally gotten turned upside down,
Yeah, it's flipped.
right?
Yeah.
That can feel like a lot. And then the question always comes of like, oh, am I supposed to feel guilty? Like, am I, like what I wasn't a slaver,
Right.
like, like it wasn't me that's doing the oppression. But here's the thing, like, we have all taken part in these systems that benefit some and oppress others.
Right.
And the rat race tells us we have to do whatever we can to get ahead. And if that means taking part in system where other people are being oppressed because of that, that's fine, because we got to get ours, right? But it's all of us. I think we're all waking up to the ways in which we've been complicit.
Absolutely.
Like we've been lulled into believing in a system that benefits some more than others,
Right.
and doing everything we can to make sure that continues, right? Because we've bought into something that is in itself oppressive, right? So we're all waking up, because we're all waking up to ways. I think some of the most powerful work, when I talk about diversity and inclusion and equity work, some of the most powerful work for me has been the ways in which I've taken part in that, ways that racism has been internalized within me, both towards others and towards myself. The ways in which we've all been walking around in this smoke, this haze, this fog of racial inequality and inequity, and how we have not done anything about it because we've just thought that's what's real, that's what it is. Right. But right now we're seeing through it, and to me that's the greatest gift. So justice work is all it is, man. It's just being a human. Like when it comes to new thought, David Alexander broke it down last time. But the philosophy and the theology of new thought, the philosophy is can be a philosophy of privilege, right? That is kind of rooted in we are all separate, and if you're suffering, it's because of your consciousness,
right?
And let's be real, Ernest Holmes, in the original Science of Mind textbook, right towards the beginning, you can look it up. There's a section that says, "Why are people poor?" And he in his own way explains their poverty being a result of their consciousness.
Right.
Now, that was taken out, and hopefully he continued to evolve in his own understanding.
Right.
But the theology of oneness tells us that a separate consciousness does not exist.
That's right. Right.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah,
it's simple, man. And I love that it's becoming more simplified, and I hope that it can become simplified enough for people to not be overwhelmed by what they are seeing and being revealed to them, and instead allow their hearts to actually be moved enough to want to do something about it.
And I'm glad you said it like that, to allow their hearts, to be moved enough, because that brings me to, I love the three words that you used, love, courage, and connection. Right. And to have the courage, because for me, it's one thing to recognize what's going on and then to feel connected, but then being afraid to step up to do something. Mm-hmm. But when I find myself doing that, which I don't do that nearly as much as I used to way back in the day, but when I found myself doing it, I realized, number one, that I was, that I was being cowardice, not a
Mhm.
coward, but being cowardice. And that's
Mhm.
not loving to me or my fellow human beings. So it takes courage. It
Yeah,
takes courage to move forward. It takes courage to do something, and sometimes that's not always easy, right?
yeah. But I love the idea of courage, meaning like the root word of courage is core, which means wholehearted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the idea that courage doesn't come from a sense of like will or bravery. It just comes with connecting with something deeper, with that power of connection that is so deep that you can't not do whatever is being called forth from you,
Right.
right?
Right.
Which is why I love fantasy and Lord of the Rings, and I love those little hobbits that were sent to save the world, but they're like me, like just little guys, like how like what role could we possibly play in this big war of ideologies of good and evil, or whatever that happens
Right.
to be, right? That
Right.
um that everyone has a role to play, right? And no matter who we are, no matter where we are, um, like we're just as important
Yeah.
as those that are on the front lines.
We all have a role to play. We are all just as important because, going back to your word, we are all connected.
Yeah.
We are all connected. And I don't care if there are some who are looking at this going, well, no, because of my privilege and because of my financial stability, I'm above all of that. No, 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 no. So let's not get it twisted. We are all connected. And I love how you broke down the Greek root of apocalypse because it is a revelation. So much has been revealed in this year.
Yeah.
You know, often I over this, past year, I talk about when 2020 came in, right? And folks are talking about, yeah, this is not only a brand new year, it's a brand new decade. It's 2020, clear vision. And I say, well, yeah, we can get to the clear vision, but right now what's being revealed is that the world has cataracts that we are now in the process of extracting.
Hmm.
We got to remove the films off of the eyes and all of that. And I love how everything has been stirred up, so that we can take a look at it, because there's no way for us to ignore it. There's no way. There's no way for
Hmm.
us to ignore the shit that's going on, right? So
Hmm.
now either we plug our nose up or close our eyes, which that doesn't work but for so long, or we get into action, whatever that is for that particular person, and having the courage to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what else is being revealed is all the ways in which we sabotage our own actions, you know,
Oh shit.
all of the ways in which we allow fear to be the dictator of what we do and what we do not do in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of our inner worlds are being revealed right now too, man. Uh,
Truly.
and that's what makes this. It's not just we're not just connected to each other, but the inner and the outer, right? The as above, so below, as within, so without. Like this is a spiritual evolution that's also happening. Seeing that we're seeing that the ways in which fear is also just so deeply present in us.
Truly.
And how to me it's just I think we're just being confronted with so many things, personally, interpersonally, and collectively right now.
Absolutely.
um, which is why we need community, which is why we need
Mm.
friends like like you who I can lean into, which is why we need to have spaces where we can get really real about what's going on with
Yeah.
us, so that we don't hide it away. There's no need to hide any of this stuff away. There's no need to hide away our fears. It's when we express them that they lose their power, right? Like we know this. So that's, I think, another thing for us, another spiritual tool on this path is just getting real, like getting real with ourselves, as much as we can, to be honest brutally honest, radically honest, so that the fear doesn't take over. So we don't start worshiping that as the biggest thing in our lives.
Right.
And I can do that. I can fall into that. I can fall into despair. I can fall into pessimism. I can fall into looking at the world and just want to throw my hands up and be like, we're all screwed. I'm screwed too. Like, look at my mind is a mess. But it's only when I actually make contact with it that I can make fun of those thoughts in a way where I just can see them for what they are and then choose something different, but I got to go there. I got to get real. And whether it's in a context with a friend or with our journal or ourselves, like, to me, that's the mission right now too.
You know what I love about being, human, being a human being is that, I could try to ignore it and I can, get into that, despair and throw up my hands and cover my head with the blanket, but I can only do that for so long because we are intrinsically, I believe there's something within us intrinsically that starts to shout, starts to yell, starts to protest against being quiet. Cool. Because there's something from my personal experience that says this is not right. Now, then it goes back to being afraid to do something, but that's where the courage comes in. But more importantly, what for me is the foundation of the connection and the courage, as you said, is that love, coming from that place of love. And it's not that wishy-washy love, that says that I'm to be this doormat, because I love you so much, I'm going to allow you to run me over. No. This is the love that goes, no, I'm not going to take this. No, this is not right, because I love me enough to say, you're off here, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I love me enough to say that, and I love you enough, not you personally, but I love that person enough to pull their coat to, perhaps there's a different way, another way to look at this. Yeah, because we are all connected. We all want the same things. We all want the same thing. Love, peace, food, water, so forth and so on. Yeah. And we got to get out of this mentality of lack and limitation, which comes from fear that there's not enough.
Yep.
And that basically, that is where racism, white supremacy has come from, that fear that they're going to take this away. So I have the power to create this system that keeps you down.
Yeah, you talk about lack consciousness, and some of the richest people in our world probably have the biggest lack consciousness when you talk about it from that sense. Because what else is greed, right? Than just a manifestation of fear.
Right.
And there's no, you recognize how deeply connected we are, and you recognize how transitory this life is anyways.
Man.
Just why? So, we're learning this over and over again as human beings, right?
Over and over again.
We're learning this over and over again as human beings. And we're at a tipping point right now, man. Like, let's be real about that. We're at a tipping point right now. The wealth inequality is real.
Yeah, it is.
We're gonna have to find ways to come out of this that allows our connection to be the thing that leads and not our fear. So I got faith, man. I got faith in it. I have hope for us. But I also see a lot of people go into fear, which is why I think anytime we are coming into contact with someone who may not be on the same page as us, if we can just dip into compassion, if we could dip into help me understand where you're coming from, if we can dip into listen, I do not agree, but I want to know you and I want to understand you and I want to know where that's coming from. That to me is how we heal, and that's to me how we bridge the divide.
Yeah.
It's much easier to get pissed and to write people off. So, those of us, or those who think that we may be on the right side of whatever, I think we have to recognize that also no one can be left behind. So what do we do with that if we
Right.
really believe in this kind of connection? So to me, that's the big call, right? Like, this election season is gonna be crazy. It already is getting.
It is crazy.
It's already crazy. And I'm just doing my best to try and understand. And it's hard, but to ask questions, even if folks are coming from another place, I think that's that heart opening work, right? That's why I try to focus on that as much as possible. Even when it's hard.
Courage, love, and connection. My brother, before we sign off on this, man, is there anything that you want people who are watching, people who are listening, people who will be watching and listening? Is there anything that you want to share with them that you want them to know?
Yeah, I want you all to know that we are undoubtedly living in an apocalyptic time in which so many things are being revealed to us, that fear will undoubtedly arise in any moment. But that fear is never has been, never will be, never is the greatest thing. There is a deeper power in the universe that is present within you that we can tap into at any moment, that I try to tap into anytime I'm feeling resistance or wanting everything to go away. So I guess what I want to say is like God is with you. The universe is present within you. The presence of love is reverberating in every cell of your being. So let's tap into it together. So we can do something before we transition on to the next thing. Let's do something before we go, to hopefully leave it a little better than when we found it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just preaching now. I don't know if that's what you meant.
Oh no, brother. Come on, please. Get up. Come on, let's do something. Yeah.
Let's do something together.
My brother Masando, thank you so much, man, for being on here with Real Talk with me. Once again, I want to thank the New Thought Media Network for hosting and producing this. Thank you, Reverend Robert Brzezinski, who's in the background pushing buttons and doing what he does. Again, in the comments section, there should be a couple of links there. One link is for donating to the New Thought Media Network. The other link is to sign up for the newsletter, or just check them out. New Thought Media Network. They're doing some great work. My brother Masando, once again, thank you, man. I love you. Gosh, we've been doing this for a while, and we're going to continue. We're going to continue. As my brother says, as Masando says, you are, I'm going to say it back to you, you are one of my favorite human beings.
Likewise,
man. I love you, bro.
Love you so much.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Eugene Holden on the New Thought Media Network. If you've enjoyed this programming, please tell a friend and join us next week for more Real Talk with Eugene Holden.